People, what's happening? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome to another episode of the Chelsea Fan TV podcast. Before we get into this episode, guys, please make sure you smash the likes on the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to go and check out any of the previous episodes, make sure you go and do that as well. As always, I'm joined by Lewis. Hope you're good, bro. Pleasure to be here as always. Let's take it back to the Brentford game then. Obviously, we were there. Disappointing 0-0 draw. I suppose the positives are that we kept another clean sheet, fifth in a row in all competitions. We looked solid defensively. We didn't lose. But other than that, there weren't really too many other positives. Having had a little bit of time to digest it and think about it a bit more, your feelings still the same from straight after the game in terms of we were kind of disappointed?
I think, to be honest, the talk we had backstage kind of helped as well, because it's frustrating, but when you take it more into account and you look at the whole situation with games coming up, the amount of rotation that we had to do, wouldn't have been too surprised going into this game if we did drop points. Everything was just going to be more about the way that we played, and we knew we were going to struggle, but I still have this weird feeling that we were lucky to even come out of that with a point. If it weren't for brilliant work from Kepa, again, second game in a row that he saved us from a defeat. If it weren't for him, Chalobah, substitutions from Potter again, it could have easily been a 1 or 2-0 loss. They were very dangerous in transition. We were getting carved apart in midfield, especially when we were breaking in that phase of play. We were very bad at defending headers. When crosses were coming into the box, we struggled. But we were lucky that every time they got a connection, they didn't really get it into any of the corners. It was either straight at Kepa or it was wide. So the most we had to do is Kepa had to be ready for point blank saves, and thank God he was. But yeah, it seemed a bit worse the further we played forward. The midfield really, really wasn't good other than in possession. In possession, I thought we were decent. Carries were good. Passes into the final third were a lot better than I think people were giving credit for. The forward line is what it is. Havertz, I've said enough in enough videos that I don't need to go over and over about it. But this guy is terrible. And even the bare minimum that he used to be able to do, that people would credit him for, he's not even doing it now. He's not pressing. And if he's pressing, he's barely sticking a leg out. His first touches absolutely disappeared, completely disappeared, and it was literally all that he had. The only thing I backed him with is that he could do something with his first two touches. All he did was turn over possession. And we were lucky not to concede off him doing that in the box. Silly awareness and in-game management from him. Broja, yeah, he had his moments, but Broja I can be a lot more patient with, and I will not give him the same energy. It's his first season at Chelsea. It's his second season in the Premier League. I'll give him time. He's 21 years of age. There were positives in his game. I thought his hold-up play was nice. When he could control the ball, he was driving at play as well. His turns were nice. For someone of that sort of size and frame, he's very quick.
Yeah, and
if he can tone down and just improve his game management, which he will do with more game time and more confidence for playing for Chelsea, there's a player there. There could be. So with Broja, he weren't great, but it's his first start for Chelsea in a Premier League game. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Only issue I had was, why didn't Pulisic start?
Yeah, it was weird that, wasn't it? We were saying before the game that it was mad. Obviously, he came off the bench and he made an impact, but didn't really make any sense for him to not be starting that game, because you look at the games coming up and realistically, he's not starting. He's not going to start any of them, you wouldn't think, until potentially City in the Carabao Cup. He's not. So it is weird because he offers something. I'm not saying he's an unbelievable player or anything, but he does offer something when he comes on or when he's played. So he deserves more of an opportunity than he's getting. So I thought that was a bit of a weird one. But as you say, impact, the subs from the bench, they did make a difference. They did have a positive influence on the game. And one guy that we are actually seeing more of, which I think is great, is Chukwuemeka. Obviously, saw him make his debut late on against Wolves, and then obviously he came on against Brentford as well. He looked really good, physical. He reminds me a little bit of Loftus-Cheek in terms of big frame. He's good with the ball at his feet. He drives forward. He's got a good physical presence about him. He looked really promising. He had a couple of half chances. I mean, Tuchel in the summer was saying that, we signed him and he was ready for the first team straight away and he was going to be used there. Tuchel was never going to use him in the first team. So that was a bit of an odd one. But Potter's the kind of manager that does trust young players, is happy to give young players opportunities. How impressed were you with him? Because I think he could have a bit of a role to play this season, not necessarily starting games, but a bit of an impact from the bench. I thought it was really positive.
I think off the bench, there could be definitely a role for him, especially with our midfield issues now that we're going to have until February. We're one injury away from being in a massive crisis. And that Gallagher issue, thank goodness it was just a stomachache. I'll take that every day of the week because we had Jorginho playing the full 90, Kovacic playing 75 when he was meant to be being rested. Loftus-Cheek was at right wing back for most of the game. And that's all of our midfield options except Chukwuemeka. And he was good. I thought he came on, injected a nice bit of energy into the team. Didn't lose the ball a lot. Was progressive in his play. Very unlucky not to score the winner. He got into a great position, but it was towards his near post. I don't really expect him to smash that into the corner or anything like that. But yeah, he was nice when he came on. And I don't think I've seen a bad appearance from him personally. Right now, I think if any of that front three, that midfield 2 and Loftus-Cheek wing back / midfielder thing gets injured, you could easily see Chukwuemeka going. Because the only other option is Zakari, and we haven't even seen him get given a subs appearance, let alone start. But even he might potentially get an opportunity too.
Yeah, there's possibilities there, but I think that there were positives, and as you say, you can't win them all, and it was a difficult game. But I mean, are you concerned? Because I think I'm a little bit concerned. I know we beat Villa, but the 2 games without Reece James, they've been a struggle, and we've only got more difficult games coming. United on Saturday, I know I personally think we're better than them, but that's going to be a tricky game. We've got Arsenal coming up.
We've been better than them, bro.
We've been better than them. Yeah, this is it, isn't it? Are you concerned how it's looked like we have struggled quite a lot without Reece James, and the games coming up are going to be difficult as well? We really miss him big time, and the problem is there's no one can replace him.
Yep, I'm glad you saw it as well. 2 games without Reece James and 2 really, really lackluster performances from us. I feel like this United game, in some phases, it's at the right time because this whole Ronaldo situation might have unsettled the dressing room a little bit. Their depth was already bad enough. Half their subs bench is youth players. And they're probably going to play a lot of the same players that played on Wednesday on Saturday. Whereas we can rotate. But the only thing that worries me is that Ronaldo situation because I feel like it could also galvanize the team. Ten Hag can use it as motivation. Ronaldo's kicking up a fuss. He thinks he's better than all of you guys. Go out there and show them why I'm starting you guys over him. And it could get something out of them. I've seen it happen before in football where one player comes out, they go against the dressing room and they all just react back with a massive performance. Don't know if anyone remembers it. Do you remember when Dimitri Payet tried to push his way out of West Ham?
Yeah.
And then they absolutely battered Palace the game afterwards. And he was their best player by a mile. So it's I could see it galvanize them. But same way, if we're looking at it just from a Chelsea perspective, if we could win convincingly, I feel like it would bring a lot of confidence back into the squad. And maybe that would do better for us with the games coming up. But if we lose, then there's a lot of pressure. Because it's not even a case we've been playing well and then we've slipped. No, we have just about made it by. And I've low-key thought this run with Graham Potter, it's been good, but I'm not getting ahead of myself with it. Palace, we didn't play well. No. Didn't play well, just scraped a win. AC Milan home and away, convincing performances, but that team is absolutely ripped apart with injuries. And I feel like that played its way into our advantage. Wolves didn't have a manager. Yeah. Villa, they hate their manager, and they nearly took all 3 points from us. Brentford is what it is. We had to rotate. I'll take it for what it is, but it still wasn't convincing anyway. So it's I need to see us play convincingly against a strong 11. I'm just happy to take this on a game-by-game basis right now. I'm not feeling too negative about the squad, but I'm cautiously optimistic going into each game. It's we can go there, we can win, but will we? And will we play well? I can't guarantee that.
Yeah, no, it's tricky, and I guess one of one of the big things looking to the United game is obviously we got a poor record against them. We haven't beaten them in the league for a while, which is mad. Couldn't beat Carrick's United, we couldn't beat Ole's United. Like for whatever reason it is, we seem to be struggling against them in recent years when we have clearly been better than them. So I think there's something of maybe a bit of a mental barrier to break as well on Saturday. We can kind of finally get that first win against them for what seems like quite a long time. But I think the first big decision is going to be whether he goes with a 3 or a 4, because we saw last night he played Loftus-Cheek right wing back. It was tricky for him. He was lucky not to give away a penalty in the opening minutes, and he did struggle a little bit there. It'll be much tougher playing against United in that right wing back role with the likes of maybe Sancho or Rashford bearing down on him, who tested his capabilities defensively. I'd be more inclined to go with a 4, but then who do you drop from centre back? Because Chalobah's been really good and Koulibaly's been decent as well. So, but I think I'd much rather have
You'd be potentially playing Aspi twice, wouldn't you?
You would, but but would you rather have Ruben in midfield? That's the thing. Like it's tricky, isn't it? Because
Gallagher was just ill, weren't he?
He was, yeah. So maybe he could play.
It could be a flu, could just be the runs, could be anything.
Yeah.
We don't know. But if he was able to play, like he's now been rested. We had to throw Kovacic for 75 minutes. Gallagher to me would have to start. Just straight. Even if it's a big game, I don't care. I would start him because we have to rotate. And Ruben and Kovacic, these two are, even if we have to play, they're too injury prone. And if we can rest one of them, I would rather do that.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I don't know. It's tricky because Ruben can play well at right wing back, but obviously defensively he's not great. Whereas Aspi going forward is not that great, perhaps not as great on the ball, but offers you a bit more defensively. I wouldn't really want to see him in a right wing back because his lack of pace would be badly exposed. In a back four, it's not as bad. I think as a right back, it's okay. And in fairness to him, like he's actually done okay in his last couple of appearances. But as you say, he's not getting any younger. You're asking a lot of him to play kind of a full 90-ish kind of twice in a couple of days. But it's a tricky conundrum. I really don't know what Potter's going to do and what would be best suited for the side.
Would we play Mount as the front three? What would you want to do? Would you rather play him in the front three or in the midfield? Because if we play 3 in midfield, we can put him in there. And then one of Kovacic and Ruben can just get the rest anyway.
I mean, I think I'd rather play 3 in the middle, have like Mount playing in midfield, and then have a front three of, say, Aubameyang, Sterling, and Pulisic. Like, I think
that would be great for me. Or even if you throw Gallagher in there, there, because you play better with him further forward. I don't mind that. But I think midfield, Mount came off like around
60 odd minutes.
Yeah, something like that. So he's obviously been rested with the United game in mind. I'd rather just play him in midfield because I wouldn't want to see Ruben and Kovacic play 2 games in a week. Like I just get worried about the pair of them way too much.
And yeah, we as you say, mate, we're 1 injury away in midfield from having a massive problem, barely being able to actually field any rotational options in midfield at all. So, we've got to manage the workload carefully. Potter, in fairness to him, has rotated the squad well. He's used the squad really well in the short amount of time that he's been here. But obviously, like looking ahead to Saturday, it's pretty much I look at it as must win. It's a good point against Brentford if we win on Saturday. If we don't win on Saturday, that point against Brentford suddenly looks like 2 points dropped rather than a point gain. So there's a lot riding on this game. United are in reasonable form. They've improved since kind of the opening couple of games of the season when they got battered by Brentford, lost to Brighton and whatnot. Convincing win against Tottenham the other night. They've beaten Arsenal. They've beaten Liverpool. So, they have taken some scalps already this season. What problems do you expect them to cause us? I mean, obviously Ronaldo we know is not going to be in the squad. I don't think he would have started this game anyway, but he would have been an option from the bench that would have been tricky for us to deal with. Who do you see causing us problems? Maybe the likes of Christian Eriksen, possibly Bruno Fernandes. I know he's struggled a little bit. I guess the pace of the likes of Sancho and Rashford could cause a few issues as well.
Yeah, Fred as well. He had a good game against Spurs last night, from what I heard. Sancho's not been all that this season. No. I'll say that and he'll score again at the Bridge. It's just typical. So I don't want to say too much. It's the midfield that worries me the most. because I'm never really too confident in our midfield, and we could easily get overrun there. And if we do, that just causes a lot of problems for us, especially in transition. And they have the players to make us suffer with that. Sancho, Rashford. Who they play on the other side? Would it be Alanga or something?
Martial had been playing a little bit as
Oh
well.
yeah,
He's always,
Martial
but I
too.
think he's in. He might. I think he might be injured still. I'm not sure, but they got a few options there.
Yeah, he was out of the last game. They're trying
Yeah.
to push him for the I thought, because I was thinking, is he going to play 2 games a week? That makes sense. Okay, so Martial, another player that could hit us on transition and cause us problems. And we are a bit leaky at the back. Like, in spite of the clean sheets, like, we have been a little bit leaky the last 2 games. Like, those last 2 clean sheets are all on Kepa.
Yeah.
Single-handedly, because it weren't the defense. We could have easily conceded. So, I don't know. I expect it to be a game with goals, but we need a big game from Aubameyang and Sterling. Like, for me, Sterling, like, he has come into criticism over the last few games, and his performances haven't been the same from when he first joined us. Fair enough. Still the last of my problems. Completely the last of my problems. And half the time we're playing him at wing back.
Yeah.
So, like, we already know what happens when you put Pulisic there. So why do we expect more from Sterling? You're not going to get that. They're 2 wingers that you're pushing out way too wide and way too deep and with too much responsibilities. But in spite of all that, if Sterling plays further forward on Saturday, he needs to deliver. Yeah. Simply put, he needs to deliver. Has to have a good performance. These are the sort of games that we bought him for, because the last 2 games against United were not lost, but not won because of our attackers. Havertz had a disaster class at Old Trafford. Werner and Cho were just awful at the bridge. It's been a common feature for us. So these are the attackers we brought up to turn up for us in these sorts of games. They got to turn up. Got to.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, I think we've kind of taken positive steps forward in the attacks in terms of, I think it's improved from Tuchel to Potter ever so slightly. But I have to say, Brentford was a little bit of a step back for me. It was a bit of a reminder of the dark days towards the end of Tuchel's reign, where just the attack just didn't look functioning at all. It didn't look cohesive. Mm-hmm. There was like no chemistry there at all. People are taking too many touches on the ball. We're too slow to release the ball. We're like we're not moving it quickly enough. You know, in transitions, Brentford were all over us in terms of, and like it was in comparison to how slow we were. They were so quick at moving the ball. If we can just move the ball quicker, we have got the players that have got the ability to cause issues on the counter attack. But it's always taking one touch too many, like overhitting a pass. Like we will get opportunities to hit United on the break and to cause them issues. But it's about, do I trust our forward players to make the right decision in the final third? Because whilst it has been a little bit better recently, generally speaking, the decision making in the final third is so poor still from so many of these players. We know that they can do it. Pulisic can do it. You know, Sterling can do it, but we're kind of reverting back to type a little bit, where some players have seemed to be reverting back to kind of their old habits and just not delivering on a consistent enough basis. Not Pulisic, but yeah, but like guys that have been regularly starting that were having a bit more of an impact at the start of the season, and now not really having that much of an impact. As you said, rightly said, you know, it's a big game for Sterling. He's come in, he started well. Last few games, he's been a bit off it. It's time for him to pick up a big performance against United. You know, from his City days.
I think it is, and it's been mentioned a couple times, but the closer we get to it, the more noticeable it's starting to be. I feel like these players are protecting themselves a little bit with the World Cup in mind.
Yeah, there's always going to be that. There's always going to be that as well. That's the weird thing in it about having a Winter World Cup. You know, you're so close to it now. It's about 4 or 5 games left to the World Cup, maybe slightly less.
I'm so vexed if I see a different Sterling and Havertz in the World Cup. I will be furious.
Oh, mate, you know full well that Havertz will be in like team of the tournament for the World Cup or something like that.
Yeah, and Stans will live off that for the rest of the season, even though it stinks for us.
Yeah, no,
I already see it now.
Yeah, you can see it, but it's a fair point. You know, I think I don't know. There's no way of like quantifying that, but for sure, that's the closer the World Cup gets, that's got to be in the back of certain players' minds. I don't want to
see how the starters perform over the next few games, because now I'm intrigued. I'm going to keep my eye on it.
Yeah, it's
Silva, not Jorginho. He didn't make it, did he?
Didn't make it.
Kovacic,
yeah,
Sterling, Havertz, Pulisic. I'm keeping my eyes on them, because
it'll be interesting to see
if
how
their
they do.
performances dip, and the majority of them do, it's a thing. It's
So
a thing.
yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, another decision there is to make ahead of Saturdays. Do you obviously Chilwell not in the squad at all last night? Obviously just rotation, rest, managing his workload. Would you expect him to replace Cucurella in the starting lineup at left back, left wing back? I mean, I didn't think Cucurella was that great against Brentford, and I was hooked about the hour mark. Would you go Chilwell on Saturday?
At this point, it's like neither of them are in great form.
Yeah,
Like Cucurella, I didn't think was bad, but
wasn't
like
bad.
didn't stand out. But I also
Yeah,
don't think he made any big mistakes. You could, but he played the full 90, didn't he?
no, Cucurella come off about 60 minutes. Chilwell played a 90 at Villa before, then didn't play at all last night. So he's well rested.
It could be either or. It
Yeah.
really could. I don't think it'll make too much of a difference. I mean, maybe Cucurella would be the better option for me, but Chilwell's going to be more fit. And I think over the next few games, fitness is going to be probably the biggest attribute we need going into games. So I'll probably go Chilwell. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issues with that. I think he can do a solid job for us. As you say, neither of them are in that great form at the moment. But in terms of this game, in a bigger picture of things, I know we're still early days in the season. You never want to lose against teams that are going to be there or thereabouts, challenging you for a position in the top four. And as much as we criticise and mock Man United, they are improving slowly, and they will be. I still don't think they'll come top four, but they'll be there or thereabouts in come the end of the season for a space in the top four. I know we've got a lot of time of the season left still, but how important is it that we don't lose on Saturday? Because not only just for the sake of losing to United, but how much of psychological blow could that be as well? Because as we touched on, we haven't beaten them for a while, and you don't want to be carrying like a loss to a big team. Our big team, our record at home against the big teams has not been that great. Last
Remember,
season,
we used to batter United every
we used to batter them every season. And even at home in the last couple of seasons, we've been losing to Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Like Liverpool turn us over, City beat us there. The record against the big teams at the Bridge, other than Tottenham, it's not very good in recent seasons. It's not very good in recent seasons. I mean, is this must win for you on Saturday?
Every game to me at this point is must win. I'm gonna be real for you. But in terms of Man United, there's a lot more that rides on it. Fourth versus fifth, I think they're 1 point behind us now or something like that. So if it weren't already tight, it definitely is now. Bragging rights, just in general, like United have been dunking on us at our ground recently, and it's weird because they used to have the worst record at the Bridge.
That's terrible.
Even like before Roman joined, they barely win here, and now Ollie's coming getting results. Carrick came here and snatched a draw.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And we know why. It's our attack, same way it always is, and one bozo moment in defense. But for one home game, can we not? Could we just have a convincing performance? Like, it would be nice, innit? But it's up to them to put that confidence into the players, because I feel like a lot of fans don't have a lot of faith. There's some that do, and if anything, they have too much. And they're thinking everyone's sleeping on Chelsea title race. Yeah. No. But in terms of the players, it's not a lot of confidence there. The best thing for us right now is Kepa and Graham Potter's subs.
Yeah.
And nothing else is really turning out for us right now. So it would be good for the players, because if anyone was to make their name in this sort of game, they'd end up getting a lot of PR out of it personally. But yeah, every game's important for us, but this one, like, if we drop out the top four already, there's already going to be fingers pointing at Potter. There's already going to be a lot of questions and inquests. This club's been toxic enough this year. Like,
we don't want any more.
We need to try and get out of it.
Oh, we do. I mean, as you say, like a loss, which would be obviously worst case scenario. Suddenly, you look back at the last 6 games where 5 wins and 1 draw, 5 clean sheets on the spin. Suddenly, all that's forgotten about, and it's like, shit, we've lost to Man United, and now we're out the top 4, and then the whole narrative around the club completely changes, and you just don't need that. But I mean, the home form in general has not been that great. I know this season we've been better at home. We've picked up. We haven't lost at the Bridge yet this season. I think we've got 3 wins and a draw so far.
We ain't. Yeah.
No, we haven't lost yet, so that's an improvement. But I mean, we saw last season the home form was dreadful. I mean, are you confident that our home form is going to pick up this season? Because the Stamford Bridge used to be an absolute fortress, in the Mourinho days, even under Ancelotti and stuff like that. It was a really difficult place to come. And last season, and it's almost became like teams quite enjoyed coming here because we were easy to play against and there was always points up for grabs. Do you think our home form will be better this season?
Give or take, really, because I still think it's a bit early to tell. And there were some home games where we were really lucky to get by. I'm not too sure. Like, we have tough games coming up. I think our next home game after this is Arsenal.
Yeah.
I think that's our last home game as well. So it's like, please don't send us to the World Cup with a loss to them lot and them dunking all over our ground. I'm good. But I don't know. Like, we're so unpredictable and we're so inconsistent right now. Like, it's up to the players. It really is up to the players. Our home ground can be a fortress, but it hasn't been for a while. Like, I think we were really bad at home last season, especially after the turn of the year. Lampard, we were terrible at home. Hasn't really been a fortress since Sarri, I think. Yeah, Sarri, because we were terrible away under Sarri. It was
awful, mate. I remember we held 4 to Bournemouth and got battered 6-0 at City. The away form was
2-0 to Arsenal, 2-0 to Everton. Who are Wolves, Spurs? Yeah. We just went round England and lost. It was long.
It was, mate. Last thing to round out then. What are you thinking score prediction for Saturday?
I'm gonna go confident 2-0 Chelsea. Aubameyang and we'll go Koulibaly off a corner.
Yeah, mate. Why not? Why not? I mean, six clean sheets in a row as well. I mean, that would be nice, but
would be.
Yeah, it would be good. I'm not that asked about the clean sheet. I just want the win. Like, it's unbearable, like losing to Man United if that were to be the case. You just don't need that situation to happen. You know what? I do most of the time say that Chelsea are always going to win just because. I don't know. I don't know if it's a bias or it's just like, you know, wanting to wish it into existence. But I think we've got, if we can't beat United if we couldn't beat them last season, then you know they're not that much better this season. We've got to be putting these away. I'm gonna go. I think they'll score, but I'm gonna go for a 2-1 win. I think it'll be close because it always is, and we always make things hard for ourselves. But I think we've got enough to get the job done, and it would be a really big win, and it would just put a little bit of distance between us and 5th place. Even at this early stage of the season, you want to create as much distance as you can because we are going to drop points sort of at the start. And we've got a very difficult run after the World Cup, playing City twice, playing Liverpool twice. We'll have Arsenal again. We'll have United again. Mate, we've got some
run of every 3-4 days as a game.
Yeah, exactly. So there's as many points as possible we've got to pick up before the World Cup. We need as many 3 points as possible because the run afterwards is going to be real hard. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, mate. Any win will do. I think it's vital. But yeah, it seems like a good point to round out this episode. Guys, make sure you smash the likes if you haven't done so already and do subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you again in the next episode. But until then, take care and up the Chels.